Hey guys, welcome back to Theater Advice and firstclassavsystems.com, where you can take care of you anywhere in the country now. Today we're going to do a deep dive on REL Subs, and we're going to talk about really how to calibrate them. So we're doing a deep dive on, if you own one, this is the steps to take, and this is what you should do to make it sound the best that it can make sound, and make it also sound the way that the owner of the company wanted it to sound. So there's two ways to hook up a REL. Someone had just asked me this, and I said I was doing that video soon, so here I am. There's LFE, which is normal, it's low frequency. That's going to plug in, and it's going to make the sub sound louder, but it's not necessarily how they want their subs hooked up. They want their subs hooked up with this speak-on cable. So their speak-on cable is this guy here. It's a little balance connection that goes in the back, and on the other side it has leads on it, 3 leads, and depending on how you hook it up, and that's in the manual, you can either hook it up to 2. So if you only have one REL sub, you're going to use the configuration that hooks it up to the front, left, and right together, and it splits the leads. If you're going to hook it up to a single channel, then you're going to use the lead. You're going to use 2 leads on the positive and 1 lead on the negative, I think, or something like that. And you're going to hook it up to a single channel if you have multiple subs. So if you have 2 REL subs, you're going to hook it up 1 to the left only and 1 to the right only. And you can pull off one of the leads if it's too powerful. But it only pulls a very small amount of information off of that high level, so you're not actually using that low level. Then you go into your amplifier, receiver, whatever, and you run your speakers at full so that your speaker and your sub are one unit, and that's really what REL is. If you want to get wild and crazy, and I suggest that you do, you would hook up 3 REL subs or 5 REL subs or 7 or 9 REL subs, and you would hook up a REL sub to each speaker in the system. You can either hook it up to the speaker itself, kind of like the speaker lines go in parallel to the speakers, or you can hook them up to the amp somehow if you can run the wires all the way back there, and you can place them all around the room, and then you're getting REL 3D, which is sick. I mean, you literally have REL subs all around the room. But my favorite thing to do, and I've said this before, is to hook up 3 and you put one on your center channel, and then your center channel sounds like a floor standing speaker or more really. So I love that. So I'm going to pick this guy up. If you have a friend that's even partially capable of doing this, the best way to do it is for you, the audiophile or the owner, to sit in a chair and you kind of tell them what dials to turn, 1 click at a time, because you know it's harder to do it by yourself. You're gonna have to come over, make a couple adjustments, go back, sit down, put the song, change the song over. The song that I use to calibrate subs is Daft Punk, Get Lucky. It's got one big fat bass note that just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. And there are bigger bass notes in movies and songs, but this particular one just has a constant bass note throughout the whole thing. And so, you know, I don't have to wait for the song to kind of come back to it. It's kind of there for the most part. So I kind of just keep resetting that song over and over again as I calibrate over the course of, you know, 20, 30 minutes usually. Because you're trying to blend the sub with the speaker. It's a very, very different approach. So once you have everything set up, wired the way that you want and things like that, you're gonna get the sub, you know, loaded near a corner or put where it is, and then the first thing you're gonna do is, you know, turn up the volume halfway and just kind of like move it around a tiny bit, angle it left and right a little bit, and see if you can find like a node. And what you're looking for is for it to get really like a lot more powerful in that space. Once you found that, leave it alone, go to the dials. I'm gonna have him take a picture of these dials and pop it up like over here somewhere. I want you to be able to look at the dials while I talk. So one of these dials is the LFE, right? So if you're not using LFE, you just turn that down and leave it alone, and then just know where the other dials are so that you can reach over and turn them and calibrate, because really it's going to be turned around when you actually calibrate. So one of them is going to be crossover, and one of them is going to be your volume, basically, right? So now the crossover is going to kind of depend on your speaker. So if you have big beefy speakers already, like these guys or something like that, these speakers easily go down to 40, 30 hertz on their own, probably. So you're really going to start way lower, right? You're gonna bring this, you're gonna bring your crossover like all the way down to the negative, and then you're just going to click it in like 4 or 5 because your speakers are really big. If you have like smaller speakers, you're going to want to start like, and this clicks. It goes click, 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 click. So you're going to click about 10 up and then leave it, and then you're going to bring your volume level to about like 6 or 7 up, okay? And what you're doing is during these bass notes, you're getting close to your speaker, and what you're going to do is you're trying to listen for these bass nuances that you're like, well, that's too much bass, or that's playing too high of a frequency. And you can tell because it's not clean anymore. You can tell your sub is like trying to make notes and frequencies that are higher than it should make, right? A bass driver that's 12 inches should not be trying to make human voice sounds or like tweeter sounds, right? So you want that crossover to be lower. You're trying to make your sub, don't do that. You're giving it a limit. So you're messing with the crossover first with the volume kind of turned up. So you mess with the crossover until you feel it smooth out. Then go over to the volume knob and you're gonna turn the volume knob really slowly back and forth and then go back and sit in your chair and listen to it again. Like I said, if you can phone a friend and make them do it, it's way easier. But you know, technically putting two bodies in the room also changes that dynamic, and putting a body in front of the sub, between you and the sub can change that dynamic. But for the most part, if you can have a friend help you, it's way better, or have an installer in the room and you can go in there with the installer and he can turn the dials until you can hear it blended. But you can do it yourself. I do it myself all the time. You'll have to just, you know, do 2 clicks, go sit down, listen to it, and you're like, no, I feel like that's too much volume, or I feel like the crossover is too high. Bring the crossover down, bring the volume up, go sit down, try it again. So that's how they want you to do it. There are instructions in their manual on the number of clicks to start at to do this blending process. You can follow that as well. Some people are just better seeing me talk about it than than reading a manual and trying to understand what they mean. But these knobs are blending. So you're blending, telling the subwoofer to play a certain frequency on down to 20, and you're giving it volume at that point, 1 click at a time, but until it just gets to be too much for the room, too much for the space, or just doesn't sound any good anymore. I do not want anybody at home to get caught up in, I paid all this money for this subwoofer, how come the volume is so low? I'm telling you right now, my JLs at home are sitting at like 15% volume or something, and it's like detrimental to my room amount of bass. So there's no logic to that. We're trying to make the bass sound good while still being very apparent and being there, but being like an instrument sounds. So that's a deep dive. It can be used on any REL sub, from the tiniest one to this giant one. It doesn't matter. The method is the exact same thing. The subs will just give you obviously more bass as they get more expensive, but it will be just as clean. It'll just be deeper and have an ability to go deeper. So that's REL. We love them to death. I love how they operate. If you need any more information, maybe pop something in the comments and I'll do that, but appreciate you watching. REL Subs. Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you for listening to whatever I was just rambling about. And of course, if you are in the Dallas area or surrounding areas and you can get here, visit our showrooms in Frisco or South Lake location. And now we can help you anywhere, from anywhere in the country, through the world's first mom and pop shop on the internet called FCAVsystems.com. We are very excited about this project. We're happy to bring what Theater Advice does here in Texas to everyone. Thanks for watching.